New York's classic rock, Q1043.
Bob Saget is with us this morning here at Q104.3.
Yay!
Now I hope you'll forgive me, Bob, but I have to go through this introduction.
Okay. I love intros. Thank you.
And the intro is it takes a while. Bob Saget, our guest, is one of America's most popular stand-up comedians. He's a very successful television actor. He's a successful movie actor. He's a successful Broadway stage actor in the theater. He is an innovative off-Broadway stage actor. He is a best-selling author. He is a Grammy nominee. Bob Saget is a director and a producer and a writer. Bob Saget is probably the most family-friendly entertainer in the United States of America, while simultaneously vying with Gilbert Gottfried for the title of dirtiest mouth in all of show business. Bob Saget is just an amazing human being. He's a game show host. He's a quiz show host. He's a podcast host. And yes, he's our friend. Bob, welcome to the show.
We have no more time left.
Oh my God, that's it. Thank you so much. Great to see you guys. Take care.
Good night.
No, it's just amazing. There are people who are big successes in one field or another, and maybe sometimes a couple. But I mean, you are like a multimedia monster.
I always say I do like 6 things, none of them well,
All of them.
Dude, that was the longest, most beautiful intro. It's like lower me into the ground now. That
No, I mean, I even left some things out. But I mean, you were just on The Masked Singer.
Yeah, nobody knew. That was the funniest part was, not a soul knew. I had to have people sign NDAs. That was required.
Well, that's the question I wanted to ask you. You see, had I known Bob Saget's going to be on The Masked Singer, then I would have made a point of turning on the TV and seeing Bob Saget on The Masked Singer. But you can't do that because it would kind of blow the whole concept.
Exactly. You can't promote, I'm going to be unveiled.
Right.
And I wasn't even, I'd been asked to do the show for years and since it started. And Ken Jeong's a friend of mine, Robin Thicke, I've known since he was a kid because of his dad, Alan. And I always loved Robin. And I knew Wayne Brady, who was on that last episode I was on. So I had also agreed to do Ken's new show on Fox called I Can See Your Voice as a panelist or judge or whatever, which is a fun show. And I never wanted to put on like a mascot outfit and sing. I went like, that's not.
Well, that was one crazy outfit.
Well, why'd you decide to do it, Bob?
Well, I had performed once in LA in April at like 18 people in a big studio that was safe, very, very safe. And then, everybody was tested, everybody was separated. And then a few months back, I performed at Dave Chappelle's comedy camp in Ohio, which was a joy, just a joy to be with compadres and to see people, Chris Tucker, Chris Spencer, Louis C.K., Michelle Wolf, and Dave. And I was able to work out and I didn't know what I was doing. It was like, wow, did 25 minutes, didn't know where I was. And then I came home back to LA and I got a phone call. And it's so funny because I was like wanting to perform so bad. I was going insane because I've always performed in some way or another. And I'm a workaholic person. I've been doing my podcast, as you know, and that's time consuming, but not like what you guys do. I mean, once or twice a week is nowhere near what you guys do. And then I got the call and they said, hey, do you want to do The Masked Singer? I said, yeah. I said, I don't care. Put me in a mascot outfit and hit me with a fungo bat. I don't care.
How did you even figure out how to move around in that costume?
It was really hard. They had 2 choreographers that were amazing. And some people said to me, did you rehearse? I went, this is the #1 show on TV. Yes. It was like 3-4 days of each show, each one I did. Creedence says, "Have you ever seen the rain?" It's only 2 minutes, but you've got to be able to sing. I had like a 35-pound diving helmet on my head. The guy
Wow.
had 7 eyeballs. I picked the costume. I had another option, and I went, "No, this is the one." My wife said, "No, I want you to be Squiggly." So she started to fall in love with Squiggly, which I find a bit offensive because she really wanted me to bring the costume home. I said, "Honey, we're not into furries."
Well, Squiggly has a lot of hands, a lot of appendages on.
Yeah,
Squiggly.
and they're lobster claws, so they
Yeah.
couldn't even hold the mic. They had to strap it to my finger. It was very cumbersome, and the thing is, the helmet was right on my larynx,
Oh.
so it was hard. But I also had an amazing vocal coach. These are like really, it's the
Okay, so you're saying, have you ever seen the rain? And
then the next week, I got to come back. I didn't realize it was a competition, really, even though I knew it. And then when right before I came in to do the first episode, Ken Jeong's texting me. I'm actually in the bathtub, which is usually when I text Ken. And and he said, "Would you like to do The Masked Singer and come on as a judge or something?" And I went, "I'm really busy. And I was getting fitted for Squiggly, How big's your hat size? I'm like, I don't know. I don't wear hats. Baseball cap. But anyway, then the next week I did Satisfaction. And I was upset I got bumped. Here I am in a competition I wasn't aware of. And why am I getting bumped? I'm Squiggly.
do you like to sing?
Yeah, I've been doing it in my stand-up forever. Even, one of my specials that you mentioned, I was nominated for a Grammy. It's got 4 songs in it. Stand-up.
Yeah, but is it something you really like? I mean, are you?
I love
you're
it.
You're like that old. I mean, you're a very contemporary guy.
Yeah,
but you're kind of like that.
Okay.
You're kind of like that old-fashioned entertainer that we, heard about when we were growing up. The triple threat: the sing, the dance, the act.
I am a threat because I tell my audiences, if you don't like me, I'll moon you. I don't know. I was going to come up with something dirtier, but I'm trying to protect us all right now.
But you know why you said that? Because like me, you're from Philadelphia, and my introduction to the NFL was my dad taking me to an Eagles game as a kid, and it was the first time I saw mooning. It was the fans mooning the team. That's why you said mooning.
Yes. And you don't want Philly fans mooning because they've had 4 cheesesteaks. So there's going to be a mishap. There's going to be a mooning mishap. And they go, that's why you don't eat Cheese Whiz.
No, but Bob, you can sing, you can dance, you can act, you can,
I don't dance well. I'm not a good dancer.
Well, you were in the Wiggly costume and they choreographed your moves. You couldn't even see where you were and you pulled it off.
No, I had no idea. It was really weird. It was like Predator. I was literally trying to see through the thing. And I could see the judges because they were well lit. But I'll tell you the funniest thing, guys, is it's really hilarious to me. All of a sudden, I don't see any other of the contestants who are not the stars or whatever that are doing these things. And then I'm hearing that they're all good, and I'm finding out who's Broccoli, I'm asking questions all the time, who's Jellyfish, who's Mushroom.
So even you guys in the suits don't know who the other people are.
We don't have any contact with anyone. You show up with a sweatshirt, a hoodie that says "Don't talk to me" on it. You wear an N95 mask and a visor and a hoodie. And and people go, "We got Squiggly walking. Squiggly's walking." And
that's so crazy.
It's insane. And then the show itself has an odd hipness to it, even though it's like, highly produced family show. So, and I did it because Craig Plestis, who I've known forever, when I did a show 1 versus 100 on NBC, he was just a good guy. And so he said, "No, I promise you'll have a good time." But the only thing is I don't like competition. So here I am, I'm in a lineup, and I look to my left and my right. I'm trying to look. I'm literally like the robot in Lost in Space. I'm sorry, listeners, if you don't know what that is. But and then
Robbie the robot.
Exactly. And then to my left, I see a jellyfish and a mushroom. It's like I dropped acid and showed up on the show. I swear, people said to me, "That's a really trippy show." And it's so interesting because it aired right in the middle of all the selection stuff, which will be going on until 2085. But it was a relief to even do it and then to watch it. I was like, oh, we're going to get preempted. Something weird's going to happen, you know? And I wanted people to see it. And my wife, Kelly, she contacted her parents in Chicago. She went, oh, Bob's on this show. I can see your voice at 9, or it was 8 in Chicago. But you know what? Turn on the show before it. It's really good. And her mom's like, why do I have to watch that? Why am I watching that? She said, oh, it's just really good. And she couldn't tell her.
She couldn't even tell her family. Well,
Bob's
you mentioned the NBC show 1 versus 100.
Yeah.
That was an hour-long show.
Right.
And there was a lot of improvisation on that show, right? I mean, you had to like ad-lib your way through that show.
It was the scripted bullet points, and then I was going like, wait, they cut out a half hour of all my PG-13 jokes, and they went, well, it's 8 o'clock, Bob. It was on right before Deal or No Deal, and it did really well for 2 years, and then they took it off because they made a decision at that time. All the networks, the game shows are coming out of prime time, so that's what happens on a dime. And now, of course, it's the main stuff they can even film right now.
Yeah.
And get it out quick enough. So, I mean, I did this really recently, and here it is already aired, you know?
Well, one of the greatest quiz show hosts that ever lived just left us.
Yeah.
Alex Trebek.
Alex Trebek is, everybody's really heavily mourning over it. It's interesting because he also was so brave, and he went out as such a brave man. It's interesting. I look at my Instagram stuff, and I just see all the people, and you go, wow, look at such an amazingly wonderful, diverse group of people that just love this man.
Well, you know, and you know, obviously his mastery of the medium and the time of day that he was on. People would come home from work, they'd be stressed, they had whatever kind of day they had. You know, they sit down in front of the television, and there he was, decade after decade after decade, not only entertaining them, but enlightening them.
The teaching,
Right.
I mean, I don't know ask me anything for 50. I don't know.
Well, you know, one of the great things about that show, and you have quiz show experience, but one of the great things I always loved about Jeopardy was that some days you feel like a total idiot, and other days you feel like the smartest guy on earth.
Yeah.
It depends on the category.
That's what's so great. It's like the New York Times crossword puzzle. It's like that's like golf. Some days I'll just be able to I can't believe this, down, across, I'm going. Look at me.
Well, that's probably on a Monday. By Saturday, you're doomed.
Oh, my brain's all just jello.
By the way, the New York Times crossword puzzle editor is a listener of our show, which kind of intimidates me. But
Well, wait a minute. So your name hasn't yet been an answer?
Oh, mine has.
I've only been in a Newsday.
Sure
I was in a news.
Wait.
I was in a Newsday crossword puzzle.
Jim, you were not in a New York Times crossword puzzle?
Wow.
I'm not important enough to be in a New York Times
course
crossword
you are.
puzzle.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are.
I hear you're working on a documentary about Martin Mull. Martin Mull was a guest on our show years and years and years and years ago. What a special person.
He's one of my biggest influences too. I mean, there were a few people that when I was 17, I would sneak in and see Don Rickles, and I went and saw Martin Mull at the Main Point in Philadelphia. And he would
Even
bring his
I've been to the
furniture.
Main Point in Philadelphia.
Right? I mean, Springsteen used to play it all the time, and Jackson Brown, and that show, it was Martin Mull and his furniture, and he would come out and do the best comedy songs that I'd heard. There's some other people, Tom Lehrer and other people that did comedy songs that were, you know, it's an art and a craft. It's not.
Yeah, the Smothers Brothers did it.
Yeah,
they were.
Yeah. And there were a few other people. I mean, you know, you look at Alan Sherman, no one will remember, but he sang,
Oh, hello,
hello, mother, hello, father. Here I am at Camp Granada. I can sing that, by the way, on your show because it's a public domain. But then you look at, you know, Weird Al does parodies and does them really great. But it's still, I've always written comedy songs and original ones. And I was all ready to, by now I'd be shooting a special if there was no quarantine or pandemic. Oh yeah. So he's a huge influence. So we set out to go and make a documentary. We got a lot shot, but then with quarantine, it's hard to continue shooting. So we're just now getting it up and back in with a new editor, and it's really, he's a really special man and an amazing artist. He's such a good artist. Talk about a triple threat. And a lot of people would know him if they don't offhand from a lot of different acting roles. But Fernwood Tonight years ago was a masterpiece that Norman Lear produced. Norman Lear's in the documentary, Steve Martin, Eric Idle, a lot of, David Alan Grier, a lot of great people. And Martin is just an amazing, highly respected guy. And
as are you. And doesn't it make you feel good deep down inside to know that people like the people you just mentioned are your peers?
I don't think Steve Martin would come out and say that. I don't look at them as my peers. David Allen and I came up at around the same time. But when I'm talking,
like you were just talking about being with David Chappelle and all those people, the top people in your world, and you were with them in Ohio, and
right.
And you're part of the gang. I mean,
well, they're my. He's Bob Saget.
I know.
He's Bob Saget.
I know.
Oh, I know.
God. And he doesn't even have to have young people call him Bob Saget to be cool.
Robert Saget.
Robert Saget.
And it's funny, a lot of my audiences, well, once I get to have them again, are from age 16 to 90, and and I'm not even. I think they're over the fact that they think I'm blue, and then I go, I'm not gonna be talk dirty tonight, and then I'll get off stage and promoter will say to me, yeah, so that was a clean set. That's one of your clean sets. But I just do what I do. We all have our own. And it was so funny. I was talking to Bill Burr, who's a friend, and he's one of the best stand-ups alive right now. Also, right? And
yeah, he's been on our show.
And so he's hilarious. He's wonderful, and he's such a good man. So I'm 64 years old, and I said, Bill, it's funny. I've done a bunch of stuff, but I haven't even done what I came here to do. And I said, well, you better effing hurry up. Meaning you're not going to be around long, Bob. You better hurry and do what you want.
Do you have a separate rate?
So wait, what else do you want to do? What do you think you should be doing?
I want to do some, consequential acting, and I want to do some directing. I'm writing a piece right now that I can't talk about because it's a sequel of sorts. So to something I did, but that's not hard to find on IMDb. But it's something that I'm passionate about with another incredibly funny person. So I'm plugging. I've done every clue I can, but I want to do a documentary on behind the scenes of Masked Singer, and it's just me, trying not to go to the bathroom in my suit. That's what I want to do. My God. Oh my! I made a squiggly.
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah. Oh my God! And you can't really you gotta. It's like theater, You think about the people that did Cats all those years. And almost anybody that does theater, you're no matter what you're doing, you're suited up and you got mics wired. So you've got to do all that before you and make any other plans. Like to go
and de-mic.
Oh, you have to de-mic.
Right. Oh, yeah. Otherwise, people can hear you in there.
Oh, I've done that. When I was hosting America's Funniest Home Videos, I did a Leslie Nielsen in the Naked Gun type of thing. I don't know if you remember that, but he took the radio frequency mic into the bathroom with him and was like very loud, and people could hear it. And mine was different. We had the entire studio audience for America's Funniest Home Videos. I went to the bathroom, and the audience was. It was 11 in the morning. They just were not there yet. I was there because I had to be, and I was jacked up on espresso and ready to go. And I just went to the crew guy I was standing next to, and I said, boy, this audience, man, I just said terrible things. And I was 31 and just you do dumb stuff when you're young that I would never even think about doing that now. Not because I get canceled, but because it's just not nice.
Right.
And why you're blaming them because you're not good? I could have made them good by being better, by being less hyped up and on two different planes with them. So, and there were young kids in the audience, and I'm like cursing, and then I didn't know. I told the guy to turn my mic off, and he didn't. But it was off in the house of the studio, but not in the monitors, which were under the seats of the audience. And then I go back in, and a 14-year-old girl says, "We could hear you in there." And I said, "Oh, I do that before every show. That's my ritual. That's my joke. That's my whole thing, is I like to say really negative things about the audience because you guys are so great. Let's hear it."
Did you get away with it?
I don't think no, I don't think so. I don't.
A lesson learned, though. A lesson learned.
Oh my God. Well,
Yeah.
First thing, I also learned to love my audience, no matter what, but even if they are not reactive. There are times it comes to a point where there's a whole thing they just did on Showtime. Then I did a couple little things in the Showtime thing about the Comedy Store, which is where I started. I was in there for 8 years in LA, and everybody talks about bombing in the thing, that you have to bomb. We were talking about Richard Pryor, who I had the pleasure of knowing, and how he would just go up on stage, try stuff, and people were like, their mouths were open because he just wanted to try stuff, and it wouldn't always. He could turn on the switch and crush if he wanted, but then he wouldn't be getting his work done. And you got to get your work done.
Well, sometimes the joke that bombs benefits you, doesn't it? I mean, sometimes. I mean, remember, for our younger friends, they weren't, around watching Johnny Carson on TV on the Tonight Show, but for someone so famous and so funny, I mean, some of his jokes really bombed, and it was his recovery that would sometimes
That's the joke, yeah.
make the night.
Yeah. And he goes, well, maybe that didn't happen. Or maybe that happened near the Schlosson cutoff. What do you do at the Schlosson cutoff? You get out of your car and you cut off your Schlosson.
Well, Nashville Squares is still on, right?
No, it is gone. It went away.
It's gone? It went away?
It went away because now it's not a pandemic-free zone. And so they had other programming. I don't know what happened. Also, the Viacom had a lot of shifts. A lot of things happen. A lot of shows you'll love end up being gone just because everybody changed, and they have other precious babies that they want to get.
Okay, well, your podcast. Tell us how to find it and what you do.
It is. I do mostly juggling and mime.
Okay, that's always fun.
It is.
You laugh. Okay, Candace Bergen had a famous dad. Edgar Bergen. Yeah. Edgar Bergen was a nationwide star. And why? Because he was a ventriloquist on the radio. Now you figure that out.
Well, it's because the voices were so great. Charlie McCarthy and I don't know all of the other ones. There was one guy that had one name, like Jughead, one of them. Wasn't there? Do you know the characters that he had?
Well, Charlie McCarthy, everybody knows. The other one's on the tip of my tongue, but I can't think of it now.
Same, and it's no matter because the audience is going, who? But radio, what? But it's so interesting that we are going back to all the original forms of everything. Television is, your Playhouse 90 type of theatrical thing, or there's news, or there's Saturday Night Live type of troupe shows, that's really the only one of consequence. But my podcast just had Paul Reiser on yesterday, and I have a good month. I have wonderful people. I have Mark Maron is coming up, and let's see, David Portnoy from Barstool, and Colin Quinn, and Jason Sudeikis. So that's like every Monday.
His new show is great.
Oh my God.
Ted Lasso is wonderful.
Ted Lasso's my favorite, it's been my favorite show on television. Those 10 episodes, everybody has to watch them.
They do. They do.
It's so positive and so inspiring and so up with people. And we're at a time right now where a lot of people aren't up with people. You know,
Right.
it's hurtful to see what's going on, and and I do want everybody to somehow unite, but I don't know. That's not possible. I don't think there's too many hurt feelings in the world. But I have friends, even on my podcast, that might not be I don't have political beliefs. I have human beliefs, and certain parties obviously have different ways of going at it, and that's the biggest argument, I think.
Let me ask you, I want to take you in a serious direction just for a second. I was just wondering, when was the last time you were able to talk to your good friend Laurie Laughlin, who's now in prison?
Well, I'd come out with that. I think it was out I don't know, 3 weeks ago, and then you say it to one news source or interview, and then it goes everywhere. And it was just a text. It was just a text telling her I love her, and that was it. It was just, and you get a heart emoji, and life is fine. Life's not fine for anybody, and that was an unfortunate thing. And I love her, so that's that. It's just it's when people go through stuff, you don't necessarily, texting can be a real blessing at that point, when it's not someone having to respond with a phone call, because life's hard enough. I have a friend that he lost his wife, and we've been able to text. He's been on email trails of mine, and he knows that if we talk on the phone or FaceTime or anything, that he just won't be able to handle it, because he knows I loved her, and he loved her so much. And it's so sad, but then you realize that he loved her. They loved each other so much. So that's kind of, it doesn't get any sadder, but it's also so beautiful because a lot of people just can't stand each other anymore. When they're married, a lot of people during this thing, when quarantine ends, people are going to break up or have their second child. It's really interesting what's happening.
Well, what was it like going through a pandemic and the shutdown with a new wife?
Yeah, well, she's 2 years, my wife, but we've been together 4.5 years.
Oh my God, it just feels like a few months.
It does to me too.
Well, that's good.
It is. It's been actually, we go through waves like anybody else. You go through stuff, and some days it's usually my fault for.
Oh, what a good husband you are.
No, I'm not. I'll be in a bad mood, and then I'll watch the news and start yelling at the TV, and that's not good. I'm not watching UFC. That's what people are doing. No matter what you believe in, you're yelling at the TV, and and people find whatever feeds their addiction of what their belief is. But I just always answer with, I know I care about humanity, and people go, oh my God, please. Because we're also cynical and burnt by everything. No matter who you are, you're burnt by something. Someone's hurt you, something happened to you, your life experience is completely different from other people. And then their life experience is completely different from yours. And so everybody fights. But we do need to somehow, I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon. I think it's a long process, and it starts with us. When you guys do it, you're bringing people together. You're not doing anything that is trying to hurt anybody or go, oh, can you believe what that person just said?
Just trying to entertain people, and
right.
And which is a great gift that you have. It's a wonderful gift. Well, it is. Think of how important it is to people, especially during times like these, to be able to, count on people that they, in a sense, feel that they know. Your fans feel that they know you, and you make them feel good.
Yeah.
And it's really nice. I get some flack back. I posted something on Instagram that was I'd seen this photo that John Leguizamo had posted. It was like the United States, red and blue, hugging each other, and there were so many people that were like cynical about it and angry that I did that, and just venting their upset from literally from different points of view, completely opposed 180 points of view. And I was like, and then I started, instead of deleting, well, if they're really evil, you know, and you know, I'll block somebody because I don't want to let that into my life. But I left a lot of people to give their opinions and tried to answer them. I don't normally answer, but I just did it the other night. It was really bothering me that people got upset over my idea of unity, but we're also burned and so cynical that if John Lennon was alive and saying, excuse me, that wouldn't be what he said, excuse me. He would say, you know, all we are saying is give peace a chance. People go, yeah, right. There's no chance. You know, that's the response now. It's cynical. Whereas in the 60s with the racial uprising and attempts to move the needle forward, people were buying peace and love, and there were a lot of drugs.
And the result of that was that the needle did move forward.
It did. But now we've got a lot more needles, and if you want to use them, you can go to Oregon because needles are legal. So,
and in Washington State, you can now use human bodies for compost.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's awesome.
That just happened.
You just made a lot of people happy. Oh, this is going to be a zombie apocalypse, Jim. I
was gone for a while, so I don't know what I missed. Did we miss anything?
Well,
Shelley?
We talked about my friend Laurie.
We talked about Laurie. We talked about relatively new marriage in a pandemic.
Yeah.
Okay.
But we've been together a while, and
yeah, but we got to do the shameless plugs. Remember.
I love shameless plugs. Shameless is a wonderful movie with Burt Reynolds.
We always have to do the shameless plugs.
Yep.
So Bob, before we leave one another, and I do hope that someday in this world we'll be able to be back in the same room together again someday.
We will. I think next year, a year from now,
instead of staring at computer screens. And we do very much appreciate you taking the time, to spend with us. And
well, I love you guys. I mean, the only thing missing is coffee right now.
I have mine.
Shelley's coffee.
Yeah, but you don't have Shelley's coffee.
I have one too, but not Shelley's coffee.
Yeah, Shelley's coffee. I know you love Shelley's coffee.
Hopefully
on that
next year.
gazillion-dollar coffee machine that takes half an hour to brew one cup.
I like
it.
With the beans she grows in her backyard and grinds up at the studio.
Well, is pot legal in New York State yet?
No, but New Jersey just voted
it's about to be in New
legal.
Jersey. Yeah.
It's an easy hop, skip, and a jump into the river.
That's right.
Okay, so this is the shameless plug segment. What do we got coming up?
Well,
what can people do?
What I do every day is get my throat cleared. The podcast, Bob Saget's Here For You, is on, it's on Apple, it's on Spotify, it's on YouTube, it's on Stitcher, it's on things I didn't know what they were. Stitcher, Flagon, Potholder, I don't know. It's on inanimate objects, but it's doing really well, and I'm really proud of it. And I get to talk to a lot of friends, and it's very meaningful. And then the next television thing I did some show that's going to be on soon. I can't remember the name of it.
That's a good plug.
Right. It's the best one. It's a shameful plug. Is what that is. There's some producer that's not happy.
Oh boy.
You see, when you come up to the studio live, you usually have someone along with you who can pass notes. Who can pass notes to you, telling you the name of the show that you're going to be on.
He is the best publicist in the world. I love him so much.
Guy. Yeah.
He is, and he handles people that are like my favorite people in comedy. And he doesn't even tell me who his other clients are. And then I go, wait a minute, you represent? He goes, yeah, I don't like to talk about it. It's like I've known him for 15 years.
Can you pass along to him a little tip? Because I know a very funny guy. He's in San Francisco. He's really, really funny.
What's his name?
And maybe Michael would like to check him out. His name is Michael OBrien.
Oh, there is a Michael OBrien.
Yes.
Oh, that's hilarious.
funny Michael O'Brien up in the Bay Area in San Francisco.
I'll tell him to look. He's listening right now. I know. Maybe the other one is. But yeah, most of this movie I'm writing is taking all my time right now also. And I'm just busy all the time. I don't even understand what it is I'm doing. A lot of it is shows that I'm pitching to networks. That's a lot of what I'm doing. I'm developing 4 projects with different producers. So a lot of it is, and the business is kind of shut down until, unless you have a show or a movie in play, and 30% of your budget is in COVID testing. So
Right.
it'll be after the new year that I'll be able to move forward and then come back to you guys and go, hey, here's my shameless. And then all I'll do is shameless plugging.
And then
Sounds
hopefully,
very dirty. It just sounds terrible.
well, shameless plugging can be dirty. It depends. But for the health of our city, of New York City,
Yeah.
we've got our fingers crossed. This city can never be New York City again until we can reopen the theaters.
That is so true. It's the heartbeat, that heartbeat. And that is, and a lot of people have said this, everybody knows it. And, at 8:00 at night, at the same time, except for the 7:00 shows, all this energy the switch goes on at 8:00 or 8:02 if they're holding. But and it's the West End in London. And where else in the world does it all happen at once? Nowhere. Not where all those performers, all those theaters are out. And it's a huge heartbeat of the city. And forget the amount of people out of work that are hurting right now. And I have many, many friends hurting, a couple of producer friends, one in particular. I just want him to be able to be back at work. Unfortunately, he's producing movies too, but that also, everything has been halted, and we got to conquer the disease, but we also have to get all that back safely. You can't send people into a theater. I have theaters, they say, do you want to do a socially distant show? And it's like, not indoors. I don't want to be responsible for people getting ill, I don't know.
Well, Bob Saget, once again, thanks. You are always welcome all the time. Consider this show yours here in New York.
Tomorrow, what time tomorrow?
Anytime you want.
I'm just going to sit here on Zoom.
As long as we don't have to pay you.
No, I'm free. I'll just literally, when you open up your Zoom tomorrow, I'll just be exactly like this. I'm just sitting here.
Okay, thank you, Bob.
New York's classic rock, Q1043.